Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Chapter 1. Story of the Door. Mr. Utterson was a lawyer. He did not talk much, and also he did not smile a lot. Mr. Utterson did not show his feelings, but still, people liked him. He liked going to the theatre, but had not been in 20 years. Mr. Utterson never judged people. He accepted them for what they were, and even if someone was in trouble or had done something bad, Mr. Utterson did not change his opinion about them. Mr. Utterson's friends were successful, rich, and educated people. One of his best friends was called Mr. Enfield, who also was his relative. Mr. Enfield was a very respected man. Every Sunday, Mr. Utterson and Mr. Enfield would go for a walk through the streets of London. Both really enjoyed these walks. During their walks, they seldom spoke to each other. One Sunday, when they were walking, they came across a strange-looking building. It had 2 stories and no windows. The door had not been painted and looked sinister. It did not have a knock. The building was neglected and looked scary. Mr. Utterson and Mr. Enfield stopped near the door. Mr. Enfield pointed to the door and told his friend a disturbing story about the sinister-looking building. On a very cold morning last November, around 3 a.m., I was walking home. It was very quiet. Suddenly, I saw a young girl about 8 or 10 years old running across the street, and she bumped into a very strange-looking man. The girl fell down, and what was so horrible was that the man trampled on the poor child. The girl was screaming, and the man did not seem to care. He just calmly walked away. I went over and grabbed the man and brought him back to where the girl was laying. The man was not at all nervous or frightened. A group of people, including some members of the girl's family and a doctor, also appeared. Everyone looked at the man with anger and hatred. Honestly, the man was so ugly, I cannot describe him. There was something about him that made me think of Satan. He did not look human. Luckily, the girl was not seriously injured. We wanted the evil man to be punished. He led us to this door. The man briefly went inside, and in a few minutes he returned with £10 worth of gold and a cheque for £100. The person who wrote the cheque is a very respected person and a very good friend of mine. I was confused and did not believe the man. How could a man walk into a strange building at 4 a.m. and come out with a cheque written by another man? I was confused. I did not believe the evil-looking man. I thought the cheque was a forgery. The evil man said the cheque was genuine, and to prove it, in the morning they could go to the bank together. So in the morning we went to the bank, and the bank manager said the cheque was genuine. As I told you, the cheque was written by a man who is very respectable, and I think he is being blackmailed by the evil man. Perhaps the respectful man did something bad in his past, and the evil man knows this and is taking money from him. I will not tell you what is the name of the respectful man who wrote the cheque. It is best if I do not tell anybody. Mr. Utterson listened very carefully and was very interested in what Mr. Enfield told him about the evil man. The lawyer asked him what was the name of the evil-looking man who trampled on the young girl, and what he looked like. It was a man of the name of Hyde. There was something very odd about his appearance. He was detestable. I never met anyone I despised so much, and I can't explain why I felt like this, replied Mr. Enfield. Mr. Utterson asked Mr. Enfield, "Are you sure he used a key to get into that building?" "Yes," replied Mr. Enfield. "I saw him use it a week ago." Both men agreed never to talk about this incident regarding the evil man trampling on the young girl.